My mom's there, but not really there. So, I mean, everything just kind of lays on me.
There are days I go home, is that child safe? Do I know what's happening?
We do a disservice to them often because right away we label them. You're foster care, you're dumb, you don't know what you're doing, blah, blah, blah.
I basically just gave up and just stopped talking about it.
You are literally saving a kid's life. You are literally taking a kid from a situation where they almost died, and you are putting them in a place that they are safe. The second I say oh, I'm a social worker, people immediately have this reaction of horror in their face and it's whoa, why would you do that? I think the general public has this hugely negative idea of us. They'll have this idea of their cousin's girlfriend got their kid taken for no reason at all, which is never the full story of what actually happened.
Biggest thing is we're called baby snatchers. And that is not true. That is not our purpose.
Every decision that we make is based upon statutes and standards that have been set by our legislatures. So I'm essentially like a police officer, but for children. I don't just feel one way and then take a kid out of their home. There are benchmarks and standards that I have to meet. Whenever I meet a family, it's usually at their worst day of their life or one of their worst points. There's a function called Access, and they're the ones that take the calls from mandated and non-mandated reporters in the community, from doctors to lawyers to social workers to teachers, etc. They call in with a concern. They say, hey, I saw this kid is saying this, I'm worried, And then we write up a report, and then it goes to the supervisor, and the supervisor says, oh man, this is bad. We need to send someone out on this. Or they say, it's not really that bad. It doesn't cross the threshold of danger in order to do anything about it. If it's screened in, then a worker would go out on it. That's currently my role. Worker would go out and investigate what's going on, speak with the kids, speak with the parents, speak with anyone who knows the family well, whoever who can provide insight into this family and what's been going on and what led them to this point.
Children's Hospital is one of 2 public child welfare agencies in Milwaukee County. There are also private foster care agencies. The public is dealing with children who are legally detained through the court system and need protection and services. 2,500 kids in Milwaukee County are in need of foster care. And that's a lot of kids when you think about it that can't live in their home safely. It's scary.
We go out in the field and interview everyone, and sometimes we have to go to the hospital and kids need to get treatment for their injuries or they need to be documented, and we take pictures and have a kit done on them to see if they've experienced any sexual abuse. And sit with the kid and work with the kid to process what's going on. Why are we doing all these things to them? Because it can feel like it's your fault when you're with a social worker and you're being questioned by the police, by social workers, by all these people. Seen some horrific shit, and that will stay with you forever. Amongst social workers, we all have this general understanding that this is awful, awful, difficult work. Some people will turn to religion and are really involved in their religious community and take solace in that they are doing what their calling is called of them. Some people, a lot of us, are on meds. Depression medication, anxiety medication. We see our own therapist in order to make sense of the awful, awful things that we see and do. Before I had kids, when I first started, I cried every day. That's not a metaphor. That's a literal, I cried every day at my desk. I just got goosebumps thinking about the heavy weight of responsibility that I had. And when you have caseloads of 30, 40, 50, 60 kids, and you're responsible ultimately for all of those kids, and it is hard.
It is not a clear-cut system. It's the nature of the beast.
I went into the military not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. I was a drill instructor for 3 years. During that time, I met somebody that had aged out of the foster care system. He was an 18-year-old teenager that felt there was no options for him. And that really sparked me to, I'm gonna go to school for social work. Carlos was a child that was AWOL and we put a missing report on him. I had to find him emergency placement. Teenagers in general are really hard to find placement for. There is a misconception that these may be really rough, tumble kids, and they have been through a lot. It was hard for Carlos to go into Sharon and Kevin's home, and I said, well, why? And he said, they're just so nice. They're so nice to me. I don't know how to handle that.
The way they interact is like how you see people interact in movies. It's really different from like my old life.